Join us each Saturday for the Justice is Here podcast, an innovative, revolutionary podcast that speaks to justice for all party members across America. We'll speak to leadership, we'll speak to activists, and most of all, we want to hear your opinion. So if you're tired of the two-party system and how it doesn't work for you, tune into this podcast to learn how we can take back the justice that we deserve. Thank you. Hello, everybody. Hello. Welcome to the 14th. We actually made it to 14 episodes of the Justice is Here podcast. I'm Tracy. Before I let my guest introduce himself, I'm going to go through several announcements that we have, because we've got a lot of them. And as soon as I get there, I'll start clicking them. So, as always, visit the Justice for All website, justiceforall.us. That's justiceforall.us. One more time. That is justiceforall.us, where you can learn all about the Justice for All Party, coordinate with volunteer opportunities, and to learn about our party platform. And of course, you'll visit it twice. So you'll want to hit that subscribe button. And we got another guest coming on here, so we'll just bring him on here quickly. You'll want to subscribe to the website. Whenever I figure out TikTok, I promise clips of this show will be on TikTok, but I still have yet to figure out TikTok and how it works. But follow the Justice is Here podcast on TikTok. Follow the podcast on Blue Sky. Also, you can follow us on Instagram. As usual, help us to get 50 likes and 35 shares. We need everybody to smash, obliterate, destroy that like button. Share this episode with all your friends, your enemies, that cousin with all the cats. Share with them. Please, please, please share. As always, you can comment. And I forgot to put up a very important announcement. I have a Team Tracy for Justice for All Party link that you can donate to. Your donation link, your donation of at least $5 helps the Justice for All Party to establish itself. So please consider donating. And we got a couple of guests here. Welcome. Hello, Penny. Welcome to esteemed guest Mark Mixon. And Rue Highway MC, who I better know is Tim, says like, subscribe, share, and comment. Hello, gentlemen. How are you doing?
Good. Mark's esteemed guest now. Congratulations, Mark.
Well, thank you. Yeah, amazing. Doing well. How's everyone this afternoon or evening on the East Coast?
In the middle of many, many things.
Enough to keep us busy.
To
keep us busy. Well, I always start off, and because I have two people instead of one, I don't know who's going to go first, but whoever wants to go first on this question, I always start off by asking, were you an original supporter of Dr. West and Dr. Abdullah, or is your involvement with the Justice for All Party recent?
Henry, you want to go first?
Yeah, I was an original supporter. We were working to get him on the ballot here in New York State. Unfortunately, this is one of the states with the most restrictive ballot access in the country. So we failed to get I don't know what it was. I think it was 100,000 signatures with a certain amount from every single county in the state or something like that. And then after that, we transitioned more into the community organizing mode here in the city.
And Mark.
Yeah, and I was one of the original organizers here in Washington State. I was following Dr. West's announcement when he announced with the People's Party, which I always have to say as an aside is not in fact a party. So those of you who have been hoodwinked by Nick Brana, it's not a party. Yeah, started forming some of the first meetings, and I had to step away as I was a campaign manager for a congressional campaign. And so that's when Ashton and CJ and Laura Fielding all took up the mantle and continued organizing Washington State and pushed us across the ballot access line.
Yeah, Washington State was one of those that got on the ballot, and Indiana we didn't fare so well. New York, Indiana, and Texas, I think, are the three hardest states to get onto the ballot. Just a lot of silly rules, and doesn't look like our Secretary of State or legislators want to change it, but I'm not going to go off on that rant because this isn't about Tracy. This is about my guests. So I do have to kind of bring this, I always have to go backwards to go forwards and then go back again. So I have to talk about this current administration in the context of, I still keep hearing from the vote blue, no matter who crowd is, everything that's happening that Trump is doing, it's your fault because you voted for Dr. West. Can you briefly talk about, and maybe you considered voting Democrat? I didn't. I was like, this is just a no. There's no way I'm going to do this. But maybe at some point you did consider voting Democrat, but decided not to. How do you answer critics when they say, oh, it's your fault because you didn't vote for Harris?
Well, I have plenty of answers for that. I mean, it's just objectively not true. In this particular election, Trump won by such a margin, and in so many states, that even if every third-party voter across the board had voted for Harris, she still would have lost. Like, objectively, anyone who says that just doesn't look at numbers. They're just wrong, brainwashed, lying, something along the fact. Like, you can look at previous elections and you can maybe make the argument. Even those are wrong. Like, people in the 2020 election claimed because Jill Stein got a vote total in 3 states that was over the margin, or sorry, in 2016, because Jill Stein got a vote margin over what Trump won by. They make that argument, but even then, they misrepresent that in those same 3 states, libertarians got 3 times the votes Jill Stein did. So even in the 2016 election, it's not true. It's just propaganda. But in this election in 2024, there's just no world. They're delusional. There's no, every third party voter could have voted for Harris. She still would have lost. This is the failure of the Democratic Party. Full stop.
And Tracy, there's a word for that. It's a red herring. People should be asking themselves, how does it serve somebody like Donald Trump? How does it serve our billionaire class? How does it serve the people who make sure that nothing changes in this country, to blame a small amount of third-party voters who are not people who show up to vote for Democrats anyway? They're part of the vast majority of people in this country who did not vote and do not vote regularly because there is nothing to vote for. They should be looking at the 70 million voters who stayed out of the 2024 election, who stayed out of the 2020 election, who stayed out of the 2016 election, and ask themselves, why are these people not coming forward? They should be asking and looking at themselves, why do we have 3%? Why do we have 5%? Why do we have 6% turnout? And who decides control of our cities, control of our planning, control of our entire environmental worker legislation, everything like that? Why are people not showing up? Why are people losing faith in our democracy? They should be looking to ask themselves that question, but it serves the Democratic Party, who serves the same people the Republicans serve at the end of the day, to keep a status quo and to keep the focus on a small minority of people.
Wow, you guys are so nice. See, this is what I don't have the ability to do. I don't have the ability not to say what I'm thinking. So I'm just going to go for it. People stayed at home. because they got tired of the Democratic Party playing in their face. People were, and I think personally, those people should have came out and voted third party. Matter of fact, I think everybody should vote third party, but because of fear and propaganda, we got a lot of work to do. But for me, my vote for Dr. West and Dr. Abdullah wasn't just because of who they were as people. It was because of the platform. I didn't hear Harris talk about anything about community banks, eliminating homelessness, $27 hour living wage. All she talked about was joy. And mostly, if I hear one more vote blue, no matter who person tell me it was sexism and racism, I'm just going to say one word: Gaza. Pay attention to it. We don't like, as a Black person, I don't like apartheid. It's something I just don't like. And that's what Israel is doing to Gaza. That's what's happening in Congo. That's what's happening in Sudan. I don't like it. So for me to vote for that, I don't know what you want from me. Like, what is it that you want from me? You're not going to do anything once you get in power. You proved that under the Biden administration. This is the administration that literally had the White House with Joe Biden, the Senate, and Congress. What did they pass that objectively benefited anyone? I can't think of anything. I literally can't think of anything. They could talk about the drug prescription reduction, but that's for people 65 and over, and that doesn't apply to everybody. So I keep asking them, what is it that your party did that's benefited me? I'm still, the election was last year, and I'm still haven't came up with an answer yet.
Then why are we locked into something where we're begging for appeasement and concessions from Congress instead of and from our legislators, from our leaders on every level, instead of trying to change the structural conditions of our lives that keep us trapped in these sort of situations? You talk about apartheid, what goes on in this country with the different police states we are under, with the photographing of activists that define them later on in their homes and places like that. This is the same exact sort of surveillance capitalism system that exists in places like Gaza and Palestine is slowly being rolled out here in America. And we're not talking about that. We're talking about fighting for things that we should have won 100 years ago. We're talking about keeping small concessions we won in legislation in 1972, in 1973. And that becomes the new thing. You hear May Day in the City, AOC stood up and she made her entire speech about saving Medicaid. Why are we here playing defense when we should be playing offense towards Medicare for all, towards something greater? It's all just about keeping these small things, these small little crumbs that we've gotten in the past.
See, you think we have crumbs, and I say we have nothing. I don't even think we have crumbs. I literally don't. I'm just like, I can't. It's so hard for me to just name one thing. Like, under Obama, like him, don't like him. I have a whole bunch of opinions about that. His administration, from his administration down. No, let me backtrack that. From Reagan down to Trump, I'm literally just scratching my head like, okay, there's got to be something that has benefited me. And I kid you not, I can't think of anything. There's nothing I can think of. We're always fighting. We're fighting for Medicare for all. We're fighting for a living wage. Why are we fighting for these things? Because these legislators are corporate owned. That's what it comes down to me. And Mark, you want to say something, and I probably cut you off.
No, you didn't. You didn't at all. Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with both of you.
Well, and we had some comments coming in. I did not even see this. Cousin Nelson says it is difficult to get Cornel West on ballot in New York thanks to Governor Cuomo, and now he is running for mayor. We need to vote third party for mayor of New York. Now the Democrats are using hypocrites. Okay. So if you don't know, Nelson usually takes a pot shot at Bernie Sanders pretty much every week. Like, this is a weekly thing that he does. And I was like, okay, it's coming. So he says now the Democrats are using hypocrite Bernie Sanders to do rallies so that they can sheep herd voters to the Democrats. I've been saying that for weeks, but nobody wants to listen to me. Henry for platform chair is what Penny says. I want to move to some of the work for, after the election. I don't know what I was on. I legitimately, in my mind, I thought, people are so tired of the two-party system. They're going to vote for Dr. West. They have to. Don't know what I was smoking. I don't smoke. I don't drink. I don't know what I was on. But when I woke up election day is when I realized, it's probably not going to happen. And I was very like, oh gosh, Harris lost, which I laughed. But then I realized, oh no, Trump won. And that type of feeling is just like, I don't know how to express like the hopelessness that I'm feeling. So my question to both of you is, how imperative do you think it is for not only Dr. West, but anybody that runs under the banner of the Justice for All party? How important do you think it is to offer hope to people that do not vote, possibly get people that voted under the two-party system to maybe switch over? And what does that look like?
I mean, I think not to push back, Tracy, but I think, hope has gotten us a lot of different places, and hope is good. And that is something we should keep. That's especially something that's important for our kids and for people who have yet to engage in this work. But I think in a lot of senses, the time for hope has passed, given the enormity of the crises facing this country. And it's a time for courage, because at the end of the day, you need courage to do these different things. And you also need to know that not everybody is going to get up and join you right away. It's going to be a lot of false starts. And there's every movement for the past 40, 50 years, they go around, they try to educate people, they try to build the awareness, they try to pull back the curtain, they try to show people the truth of what's going on. And oftentimes people will know the truth and they'll just shut down. It's too overwhelming for them. It's not something they're used to. It puts them out of their comfort zone. They would rather go back into their life and live a lie than continue and put themselves forward and expose themselves and step out into such a place of out of their comfort zone like that. So it's about teaching people courage to step forward and do those things. So it's knowing that the first few Justice for All party candidates, they're not going to do very well. And you're going to need to keep going and keep moving until that courage becomes infectious, just the way that hope has been infectious for so many different people.
I agree with Henry. I think courage is going to be an important aspect here. We need to really try to cultivate that courage to be willing to fight even when you're not sure you're going to win. Fighting only when you are confident you'll win, that's a morally bankrupt position. That's what Democrats do. We need to help generate solidarity, people who are willing to stand together for what's right, whether or not they think they're going to necessarily be successful. And we really need to focus on policy, on actual concrete policy, and hold our politicians accountable. Like this game of vote blue no matter who, vote red. It's all virtue signaling, really, because neither of those parties work for the people. Neither of those parties have our best interests at heart. We need to make sure that I don't give I don't care.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I don't care what party you're in. What I care about is, are you going to stand behind policy that we, everyday working people, need and demand? And are you going to stand behind that no matter what? And the Democrats don't want to do that, and the Republicans don't want to do that. And that's where, like Nelson said, calling Bernie a traitor and or a sheep herder, That's what's happening right now, though. The Democratic Party, they are determined. Well, I told you it's rough for me, Tracy.
I know it's one of my rules. It's just one of the things I ask all my guests, and some people have an easy time, but we see Mark's gonna have a hard time with this. But we're gonna be patient. We're going to be patient. Henry already knew because I emailed him like, don't come on here, cuz don't do that.
You know, the Democratic Party is really determined. That's why all these rallies, you know, they want people to feel like they're doing something so that when it comes next election time, they can say, now that we've got you behind us, you can vote for Democrats again. And they're desperately afraid that all the discontent that people have right now will actually be channeled into something effective and not supporting the Democratic Party. So, you know, I think it's really important that we make sure we're out there giving a counter narrative. Like it's fine to educate people. It's fine to point out the things that are wrong, but we need to paint a picture. We need to tell a story of what the world can be if you have courage, if you're willing to stand by your convictions. So, yeah.
That's exactly such a great point. And that's why I personally chose, and this is just my opinion. I don't want any smoke for saying what I'm about to say. I did not go to the Hands Off rally because I felt like, what are they there for? Like, you're asking me to show up at this protest. What am I supposed to do? It seemed like to me, it was an effort just to sheep herd people back into the Democratic Party. You even had Democratic legislators speaking at the event. And I'm like, well, what are you asking me to do? Now, Bernie did say, you know, run as an independent. But does he really mean that? I mean, what he means is run as an independent, but when you get there, if you get elected, you got to coordinate with the like. I guess my frustration has always been, and I'm not the greatest communicator, is people tell me what's wrong. They know the two parties are wrong, but they will not vote outside those two parties. And I've never gotten the connection as to why that is. And it is so frustrating to me. I'm like, you know the problem, but you won't change how you vote. And I just don't understand it.
Well, and I said this in our steering committee meeting last week, and I'll say it here for your audience, guests, not to spoil a future topic for you where we can have a panel on and debate this. But what I think those of us who want to build a different option, another major party that will challenge this corporate duopoly, why we should go to those protests. Don't go and sign any of their petitions. Don't go and give them your name. Don't go and give them any money. Heavens no. But do go, because there are tens of thousands of disenfranchised voters there. And if you go with your clipboard and you go with your story and you go with our option, some other choice you can offer those voters and say, listen, you know that these people don't have your best interest at heart, that every election, it's the same thing. When they're not in power, they pretend to be on your side. And when they're in power, they can't get anything done. And if you're tired of that, if you want real change, if you want people who are for you, here's an option for you. We are building a new party in our state. And if you'd like to get involved, let me get your name, let me get your email address. Use those opportunities. Think like an organizer. Get out to those events. Don't just leave all those voters to the Democratic sheep herding. Get in those events and get those people's names and give them your story and help agitate them to action. Let them know that you can't just go and wave signs for Democrats and think you're going to change anything. They don't want to change anything. They love the system the way it is. They get your vote and the corporate dollars both, and they don't have to do a thing for the people. So we got to get out there. We got to get their names. We got to get them involved. We got to build our state parties. We've got to make sure that we actually get the numbers we need to make real lasting change. That's my opinion, and why people who want a new major party in our country should go to these things, not to support Democrats, but rather to take those voters away from Democrats.
That's actually a point I never thought of. I never thought of it like that because I'm like, I don't want to sit there for 2 hours and listen to them going on and on. Wow, I never thought of that. Henry, you wanted to say something. I didn't mean to cut across you.
I mean, do you really also have a choice? Just look at how completely gerrymandered the entire country is and how predetermined things are in terms of the opinion that people do have of Democrats and Republicans. When you go to your ballot anyway, the chances that either the Democrat or the Republican, depending on where you live, will win are huge. It's ginormous. It's not even a real race even between those two candidates. So you might as well go in there into that ballot booth and participate in advancing the issues and the things that you believe in, rather than just participating in this charade that we have some sort of democracy where a few backroom county chairs pick the Democratic nominee or the Republican nominee in a safe Democratic district or a safe Republican district. You know, Nelson brought up New York City too. There's only a few weeks left to be an independent on the line, to start petitioning on the independent on the line in New York City. And what happens in this city is if you go and you gather that insane amount of signatures, it's thousands and thousands and thousands of signatures. You get that, they're going to take you to court and they're going to say, oh, you forgot page 45C when you filled it out at the wrong office, and therefore you must be forging signatures. You must have been doing something, and they will keep you in court until you are off the ballot and you say uncle. Otherwise, they will throw court case after court case after court case after you, because they know that the only contest in this city is the Democratic primary, and they like to keep it that way. And depending on where you live, it's probably the Republican primary.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said it, because what you said is absolutely true. However, don't let that stop you from joining the Justice for All party, right? We know what their game is, right? Distract us in court to keep us from organizing. We know that the game is. So don't let that, what Henry said, which is absolutely true, keep you from saying, well, no, why even try? I'm already defeated. No, don't do that. That's all I wanted to add. And I think now is such a unique time for the Justice for All party to be advanced, because you have Republican voters mad at their legislators. You have Democratic supporters mad at their legislators. And I think it's a really key time for us to come in and capture some of those, disenfranchised voters. And what I don't want to see is us just because y'all know I have no patience. That's another thing I don't have. I don't have patience. I want to run candidates. I want to be somebody's campaign manager. I'm putting it out there right now. If somebody wants to run for Justice for All, you contact me. I will be your campaign manager. Hence, you got to live somewhere close to me. But just saying. But I think now is such a unique time. I've never seen Republicans show up at a town hall and berate a Republican legislator. I've never seen it. And anybody
the best cure for, the joke goes is that, the best cure for Democratic governance is Republican governance. The best cure for Republican governance is Democratic governance. The best cure for either is real governance. I mean, honestly, but also we know too, like it's the same cycles, going to happen. Tracy, we were talking on election night. We knew Harris was going to lose. Your other guests knew Harris was going to lose too. I mean, you just get these feelings that they come in, people are so dissatisfied they want to go to whatever the other option is, not knowing what else is out there. So be that person, be that role model that other people can look up to.
That's a good point. That is an excellent point. Did you want to say anything, Mark, before I move on to my next rant?
No, go on. Move on.
Because I think if you've watched this podcast, I can go on some rants. I mean, I think I spent about 10 minutes going off about this next topic. And this is ultimately the reason why, for me to vote for any Democrat, I don't care if you're you're running for dog scratcher, lottery picker, nose consultant, makeup, or I don't care. If you run as a Democrat or Republican, it's going to be hard for me. Not impossible, but it's going to be hard for me to go in the booth and vote for you because you support genocide. Your party says, you know what? Let's kill them. Let's kill him. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because a report has just came out, and I'm going to talk about this tomorrow on my other show, where, surprise, surprise, Biden did not even pressure Israel to stop their bomb. Didn't even say anything. And yet we have AOC talking about how Harris is working tirelessly to bring about the stopping of killing Palestinians and to bring home the hostages. Now, I knew it was a lie. I'm like, okay, yo, do I look that stupid? But it seems like the public is like, oh, what? How did people miss this? I'm like, this administration literally could have just said, you know what? No more money for you. That's it. We're not giving you any more. What would Israel had done? If we had said, we're not giving you any more money, what could they literally have done to us?
Well, they would have then released the video and the information they've got of all of our politicians and all of our oligarchs on Epstein Island.
Oh, now. Oh, now. Oh, now. See, I didn't even go. My mind didn't even go there.
I mean, I in my conspiracy brain think that Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein's handler, was working for Mossad, and that they were there collecting information, collecting blackmail evidence against all of our oligarchs, against the wealthy, against the politicians, and that's how they're making sure that everyone stays behind this genocide. Is that they want to, they've compromised all of the people who are in power. So that's my conspiracy. Ooh, wow, that's my conspiracy theory about it.
Yeah, and Henry, you were going to say something, and I'm going to add a whole nother point to this because this one really ticked me off. I'm like, people, we've been telling you this for weeks, ever since this started. We've been telling you this. Go ahead, Henry. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, to be a Democratic or Republican politician of a very high level, you have to be a certain type of person who, does not have, is very malleable, does not have a strong ethical code, is doing suspicious things. And this is a very clear pattern you see around the world that gangs, organized criminal groups, fascist regimes, terrorist groups, they all do. They implicate people. They target people who have high levels of debt. They create situations in which they have, photos, things of that nature. There was a dossier on Trump around this, and it was everybody who was implicated in the Epstein files, and just like that, they were like, oh, we're just taking that entire conversation off the table. They were talking about it when it suited them. As soon as everybody got implicated, we made an agreement. Oh, we're not going to bring that up to the media anymore. So, well done, Mark, for.
Yeah, because Mark brought up a point. I'm like, I didn't, because when something doesn't hit my brain, that literally didn't even. I was just that never even crossed my mind. Now I'm sitting here like, now wait a minute, now let me go back. See, now Mark gonna make me a conspiracy theorist because I'm like, well, wait a minute. But to me, people know these things. When I was explaining to people why I was voting for Dr. West and Dr. Abdullah, well, they don't have a chance to win it. Well, not if I don't vote for them. If I just simply don't vote for them, of course they're not going to have a chance to win. Well, I'd rather go for the sure thing. Well, how did that work out for you? It worked out really well. Now you have an egomaniac who's threatening to take over Greenland, Panama, wants to make Canada the 51st state, but doesn't want to make DC. Notice everybody, how he doesn't want to make areas that are populated with people that kind of look like me states. He doesn't want to make Puerto Rico a state, which would make very common sense. Doesn't want to make DC a state, but Canada, really? How is it that people went into the booth and said, yes, this man that literally has 34 felony convictions, we have a convicted felon as president. Now, I'm not saying Harris is perfect because she's not. Trust and believe, I'm not saying that. But I think I have an idea of this, but I want you all to discuss What made people say him as opposed to her?
You had one candidate who was promising radical change. You have one person, you have an ongoing thing that comes with the Trump administration when they do these absolutely ridiculous things. They don't even do the cruel things they're doing well. They don't even execute on the regulatory rollbacks and the destructions of people's lives they're trying to do. And people always ask me, why are they so stupid? The cruelty with Donald Trump is the point. The chaos with Donald Trump is the point. And you had a lot of people in this country who were being told that their lives were fine. You just need to stick to the status quo where you don't have more than a few $100s in your bank account, where you're just barely keeping your head above water, where your deeds are getting stolen, where you can't afford the rent, where you can't get a stable job, where you cannot get health care. And you're being told, oh, no, it's fine. And then there's one person who's, giving you a misdirection, but is at least saying, you know what, it's those guys. And the cruelty is the point. People are so hurt by what is going on in their lives that they are willing just to see everybody suffer so they feel a little bit less alone. You know what? Those evil people in the coastal elite in those cities, at least if they're unhappy, at least if there's liberal tears, I can sleep better at night because at least I know that somebody else is feeling, my pain and my frustration. And that is a common trait in humanity that we need to examine why people want that to happen. But that is a very powerful emotional thing that for people who do not feel listened to are going to act out in that way. And it's acting out just as a kid acts out when they don't get attention. They cry, they scream, they lie, they throw things, whatever it is, to try to get people to pay attention to them. And they're saying, I'm going to come after you. I'm going to hurt you. I'm going to hurt your communities. And then maybe you'll pay attention to me. So with all the tariffs, with all the nonsense, with all the craziness, the cruelty is the point with this administration. And at least the cruelty and the chaos is a change, is what some people are saying. At least there was a change there. And we're saying it doesn't need to be a change to some sort of negative dystopian hellscape. It doesn't need to get even worse than it already is. What about it getting better? Why isn't that the change towards getting better something that people want to talk about?
Yeah.
Why do we need to lower everybody? Why do we need to destroy everybody's lives instead of just, you know what? Your life isn't going great. We can do things to make your life better. There are material improvements that can be made in this society. We should be inviting people in to take ownership and to build stronger communities where there are. So there was a candidate who was promising something that was a difference of the status quo.
Yep. And Penny, Tracy is immune to dark turn of mind. Apparently I am, because my mind just doesn't go certain place. It just doesn't go. I'm so part of me, like the way I live my life is people will probably say I'm conservative because of my background. But like politically, I'm extreme left. But how I live my life, I'm probably conservative, but what I actually am is moderate. Certain things just it doesn't hit my mind to say a politician just wants to rain on evil. I'm seeing it, which is why I'm like, you all supported this? You thought this was a good idea? You went into the poll and said, yep, there we go. Let's check off this. I just don't. Sometimes I just want to give up and just be like, you know what? I'm tired. I can't anymore because my mind just doesn't, I don't have my worldview is so clouded by what I think things should be. And when I don't see them go that way, I become very frustrated. And I'm seeing a lot of things about this administration and people are taking to the streets and protesting, which again, they should. And now I know, hey, I need to be at those protests and getting names. Thank you, Mark, for that, because I never even thought of that. But I want to move on to the Justice for All work that you all are doing. So as a FYI to everybody watching, Mark and Henry, I think you're on yes, you are. You are on the steering committee. Mark is on the steering committee. I'm just an observer. So I don't have any say, although I think you all know me. I'm pretty much going to say what I think and be done with it. But I want to talk about what made you sign up for this, because forming a new party, I thought, when I thought of a party, I'm like, oh, we'll have Chinese lanterns at fundraisers, and we'll have, mixes where we'll have music and light little snacks and raise a little money and just have a little party. Oh, I had no idea it took this much work to form a political party. I didn't know it. I was like, and I'm just an observer, which means I really don't have a lot to do. These two men have a lot to do. Talk about your work in the Justice for All Party Steering Committee and what drew you to that work. Like, what made you say, yes, I want to do this, and a little bit about what it is that your roles are.
Sure. I tagged myself as minor party organizer because this is not the first minor party I've worked on. I met Mike McCorkle when a group of us were trying to form the People's Party back when I believed that the national group for that was legitimate. And I back then didn't really realize what a party was, and spent a lot of time, had a lot of work. We formed the People's Party of Washington back then. That effort is now defunct. But I learned that it was a lot of this sort of work, and that it was setting up rules, and that it was creating charters and bylaws, and that it was setting up the systems and trying to find ways to harden those systems so they can't be captured by special interests. I really developed a deep interest in like small d democracy, like ruling by all of the common people in the original meaning of democracy, that it should be us making decisions together. Those people that are affected by decisions, we ought to be making those decisions. So I really have spent a lot of time over the last half dozen years or so in multiple minor party efforts, trying to find ways to help build new parties. And I like minor party rather than third party because there's a lot of us right now, and the goal is not to be the third party. Really, truthfully, the goal is to replace some of these main two parties, to kick them out and to take their place. So I was really attracted, obviously Dr. West's message and his standing in society attracted me. And I thought that here was a personality that might help push us over the line. Didn't turn out to be the case, but also you can't build politics and parties around a person. The establishment loves to kill a person to try to destroy a movement. Like, we've got to build a movement and a party that is all of us, that is about ideas and about principles and about us, everyday working people, being in charge and getting what we need, not just a cult of celebrity, frankly. So that's sort of, what drives me in my party work. It's what has led me to several party efforts, and just, to do my best to try to test the systems, build the systems, do everything I can to educate people and make sure they're aware that, like, hey, as we make these decisions, you got to think about what implications that has. And then once you get the systems in place, get out there and build that party, find those candidates. One of the things few people seem to realize is that at its core, in the United States, a party is just a nonprofit entity that successfully gets candidates on the ballot. That's what the game is. You got to get the candidates, you got to get them on the ballots. And so, and then if you want them to win, you need the people, you need the votes. So yeah, we got to build those systems. We got to get out there and organize and get more people involved and find the candidates, which I know is a thing you're eager to do, Tracy. A lot of people on the steering committee are eager to get the candidates and get down to the business. And this is the work we need to do to lay that groundwork.
In other words, Mark just politely said Tracy has no patience. It was so polite. It was really polite. I mean, you were so nice about it. Henry, go ahead.
No, I mean it's insidious, quite really, because there are so many rules, regulations, laws, pieces of paper, specific things that must be done, where you need to hire specific people of different types of lawyers, different types of compliance experts, which is a fancy term for basically complying with the different laws and regulations in the campaign world, different types of accountants and tax people setting up your boards and structures for your agreements, submitting those paperworks. And so in that process and in the money you need for that process, they hope essentially that you become less radical. They hope that you've spent so much money and hired all these different sort of, wonks and, people like that, you become one of them. And that's part of the reason why it is such a burdensome process in this country to set up a party. But doing that and doing so in a very regulatory, airtight way is so important, because there's also going to be a thing too, if you're trying to give money to this party, that's a point of exposure. And also you want to make sure that, one reason why the Democrats, Republicans are successful that other minor parties are not, is they don't have that apparatus, that ecosystem of support of different PACs and different vendors and different people who support their candidates, different organizations. And we want to make sure that that is there too. And if we are able to cooperate with those groups in a way so that we can win. And Mark brings up the People's Party, and that's a really sad thing too. I worked in a group in DC with Nick Brana for many years. We were both part of a climate crisis system change organization down there that was quite radical, and we both also come from the political world. And when Nick told me he was going to go and start that party, I knew, unfortunately, this was probably going to be a party that was based around a few individuals. And so I've followed very closely what has happened with People's Party, and not following in those footsteps is so crucial, which means that it has to be a movement that is a leaderful movement. If you are a person and you care about these things, I don't care what your background is, what you're good at, we could use those skills, and you should be a leader in this movement. Just because we have people who are incredibly inspirational, who we look up to in this movement, does not mean that you should not step forward and see yourself as the leader in this movement. So they want these individual people they can just knock down. And if we look at the movements like ACT UP, like the civil rights movement, which had different polls too, lots of different people doing very different things, and lots of different leaders who we do not talk about in these, now that a lot of time has passed. We need all of those different people, and we need to be resilient. We need to be decentralized. We need to be all of these different things. So we need you to come step forward.
Henry, I love that. Oh, sorry, Tracy.
No, you go ahead.
Just want to say that, Henry, I love that phrase, leaderful movement. That is absolutely what we need. We need everyone to be a leader, to step up and do this. And yeah, excellent phrase. And I've got a quick, sorry to sidetrack, quick tech question. Henry, is your microphone in your earbuds somehow?
Yeah, they're not very good.
I was thinking just the opposite. I was
like, wow, where did he get those from? Because I got one of these big headsets. I'm like, where did he get those from?
I don't hear any background noise. I hear you really clearly. Yeah, I thought those were great. I think it's a win.
Moving on to the next, unless Henry, you want to answer that. Why work? Let me rephrase my question. Let me think this out. So there are a lot of leftist parties. There is the Green Party. There is the Socialist Party. There is DSA. Although, they do have Democrat in their name, but I'll go ahead and throw them in there. There was the People's Party. Why work with the Justice for All Party and not the other ones?
I will hop in and say, like, DSA is not a party. They've specifically made the choice for many years in a row not to be a party. In 2016,
Okay, so they're not. Okay. Thank you for the
they
correction.
got party in their name, or I don't have party in their name. They could be. Like in 2016, I looked into them, and if they were a party, I probably would have gone that way. People's Party, I think when Dr. West announced the one place they had ballot access was Florida, because it's easy to create a paper party in Florida. I think they've allowed that to lapse. I think they have ballot access nowhere. At their height, we had ballot access sort of for them. I mean, Washington's the Wild West. It's easy. We were a legitimate party recognized by the Secretary of State's office, so we could have had candidates here. But they, at their height, had ballot access or people working on ballot access in several places. Brana didn't want that. Brana only wanted power for himself. And so that went by the wayside. These other parties, I'll say this, Tracy. I don't think there is another party out there I've seen that has figured it out yet. I mean, I could go through the list of minor parties and give you specifics about them, but I just don't think there's a minor party out there that has figured out the right blend, the right magic, the right method that is going to catch on. I don't know if we're going to do it either. I hope we do. But right now, I don't see anyone that is poised to be the vanguard party that Penny was referencing. I don't see anyone that's poised to be that movement as far as a political party goes that will represent real people and help us sweep back into power and true representation. Will we do it? I don't know, but I think it's going to be easier to build something new that catches fire with people than it will be to change established interests that have proved themselves to fail.
You know, somebody said to me today, and I do not know their name, but they said, love is a material value. They were saying this in response to somebody who was like, oh, we need some sort of, like revolution or, something like that. And we need to all have the means of production. And they're like, no, like love is a material value. And I think what is very special about the orientation of the Justice for All Party is its understanding of love and connection and community in this country, something that people with a lot of power and money have been spending infinite amounts of money and time to destroy step by step by step, whether that looks like attacks on housing through gentrification, or whether that looks like police terror, or whether that looks like mass incarceration, or whether that looks like slashing your wages and your benefits and stuff like that, so you cannot have the emotional capacity to give back to your neighbors, to build that interconnection where you live, to support and uplift other people, whether that looks like the hollowing out of our main streets so that we can only shop at chain stores. This is a party that's not built on, I think a lot of parties, they find a few ideological values and they assume, oh, we're going to push a lot of people towards that. But we're not about that as humans. We are about supporting and uplifting other people and being spiritually and morally and emotionally fulfilled. And I think that really looks like sharing love to our fellow people. And that looks like something even more radical than ideology, which really is philosophy. This is a party built on a philosophy of love, of justice, of values that we've been talking about and we've been craving as humans and as society since the beginning of time. You can go all the way back to the beginning of political philosophy when the idea started with philosopher kings and this idea of who people should be, all the way back, in Athenian democracy and in Assyrian civilizations, in African civilizations. There's always been this idea of philosophy as an orientation for leadership, even as a higher ideal and a harder thing to build for oneself than even ideology. So I think that is something that it's hard to get across to people, even more complicated than just Dr. West quote, justice is what love looks like in public. But this really is a chance for people to think about how they treat and deal with and support other people and what kind of society and world they really want to live in. And at the end of the day, that is something that is far more radical than any specific policy or ideological orientation. That is something that gets to the core of who we are and have the potential to be as human beings. So I think that this party is in a very unique space and a very unique way to do that. And just off of the DSA thing, DSA, for your audience, there's 3 different kind of legal structures that exist in the political advocacy world: C3s, C4s, and C6s. The C6s are membership organizations. They are dues-based organizations like the DSA, like your Chamber of Commerce, like a sports league, like a Rotary Club. And they can get involved, but they can only get involved via their membership. And they typically participate within the 2-party structure. C4s are things that can get involved directly into political parties. So that is part of what we have to build out, is these C4s, these political action committees. And C3s are the groups that exist in your day-to-day life, that try to improve things in your community, but they can get involved in electoral politics. So we are trying to create a unique situation where we are going in this C4 route, and that is something that is incredibly, incredibly difficult, because you actually have to deal with people from the Trump administration and things like that. So the DSA and stuff, they took the easy route, is what they're doing, and we are taking the hard route for the long term.
I don't know why I thought they were a political party. I literally did. I'm today years old. I literally thought they were political. I'm like, oh, well, they run their candidates, they have their conventions, and they and then they just vote Democrat at the end. See how much education you can get by watching this show, because I bet you I'm not the only person that sat here and thought that they were a political party. I'm almost guaranteed to think that. But to briefly answer the question I asked you to, I was with the Green Party. And for me, my answer is very, very clear of why I left. I got tired of being the token black. It was just like, okay, I don't see anybody that looks like me. And when I think about what the Justice for All Party is, it's like, we're so diverse, right? I can see people that look like me, people that don't look like me, without seeing, don't take this wrong, my guess, Mark and Henry's all over the place. And I'm just like the only one kind of sticking out like that sore thumb. So for me, that's very important, to be diverse. Here's another, I'm going to get to Nelson's question, and then I'm going to ask this one. The Green Party doesn't have the unity because doesn't have unity necessary to have success. That being said, the Justice for All Party needs to have someone already chosen to run so that we can have something to work for. See, now the Tracy and me agrees with it, because I'm just like, you tell me the candidate, and I'm going to start collecting petitions tomorrow. I'm not one of these ones that sits around and waits. But I've realized, being an observer, yeah, there's some work you got to do that needs to be done. Because what you don't want to do is just get in there and then realize you got to do it. Like, you get into the process of running and then you realize, oh, we got to create a party. That doesn't work out well for you. I wanted to talk about, is there some news from the committee that you all can share? Because something happened today that I don't think that has happened before. Sure. I can share it, but I want either Henry or Mark to share it.
Well, Henry, you didn't quite make it to the meeting today, did you? You had tech issues. Yeah. So today, we, the steering committee for the Justice for All Party, last week we adopted a charter. We've got a lawyer who's been working with us and helping us draft a charter for the National Committee, which is the entity that will eventually become a national party, which I could talk about later if we want to go there. Today, we adopted the bylaws. So we finalized the initial bylaws. Now we have both an initial charter and initial bylaws adopted. Next week, we're going to discuss what voting method we want to use to elect officers. And we decided that our next and final steering committee meeting, well, not next, because the next meeting is going to be next week as we decide on the voting. But our final steering committee meeting is going to be May 31st. and that will be the first meeting of the Justice for All National Committee. That we will, on May 31st, the steering committee will dissolve, and we will seat the Justice for All National Committee, seat those members. We might, elect chairs of the various subcommittees, etc. The lawyer, have you had our lawyer on? I don't want to give his name if no one knows. Okay,
Yeah,
great.
Mike. Yes, Mike was our second guest. Wait a minute, no, Mike was our third guest.
Great. So Mike will go ahead and file the bylaws with the appropriate entities, the charter, so that we are, recognized as a committee seeking to become a party. And we will be a national committee. We will be the Justice for All National Committee by the end of May. On the last day of May is when we will seek the Justice for All National Committee.
And the reason I wanted to make that have Mark make that announcement, one, because I would have fumbled it. And second, we are moving. Again, I think, and I've said it all throughout this episode, some of us don't have patience. We just want, because we see so many things happening. We see government workers losing their jobs. We see people being detained in prisons overseas, right? And they are just basically concentration camps. We have a president that openly had a judge arrested, and we're like, okay, we're ready to move. And what I want us to remember in the next couple of weeks is we're going to be really having us concentrate on, it's a process, right? Dr. West said it best when he was on this show. And after all, I have interviewed Dr. West twice. I'm just going to throw that out there because that's the biggest accomplishment that I've ever had. I'm like, yes, I interviewed him not once, but twice. But he said, this is a moment in a movement, right? This is the building blocks. This is the foundation of what it takes. And you all know I've been hitting for that convention because the church in me, because I grew up in church, I attend church. I'm ready to wear my church hat and just go to a convention and just be like, I'm here, everybody, I'm here, because I want to see people in person, because I feel like all I've seen is like their shoulders up. I haven't seen anybody's lower half. I've just seen like their head frame to shoulders. I haven't seen anybody. I haven't touched anybody. I want to see people, but it's a process, right? It doesn't happen overnight, but when it happens and when we're ready, we're going to be on here saying this is what you can do. And you can do things now, right? You can go to justiceforall.us, 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 and learn what you can do, because there are things that you can do. And now I know that I will probably be at the next hands off protest getting names. I'm going to say again, I didn't even think of doing that because I'm just like, I don't want to hear this crap Democratic garbage coming out for 2 hours. I got more things I could be doing, but I really don't. Right?
Well, please, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Nope, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that now is the time. Like we by the end of the month, we will be a national committee. And that means now is the time to start forming those state groups, the state committees that will become state parties. Now is the time to find those candidates who want to run for office in your state, in your city, in your county, in your state. Most importantly, to answer Nelson's earlier question, it's the time to try to find people who want to run for federal office. Like there's a threshold. Like in order for the FEC to recognize us as a party, we need to successfully get a number of candidates on the ballot for federal office in multiple regions of the country. So I think Perot's group successfully did like 14.
And not only that, it has to be 5 candidates for federal office who each raise a minimum of $1,000.
I thought it was $5,000.
Or $5,000. One of those. Thank you. I think it's $5,000, Tracy. Yeah, but it has to be. So that's it's not only just running. It's you got to work when you do run.
Yeah, you got to work. You got to raise the money seriously. And you got to get on the ballot. Like, it's not just that you want to run, you've got to get on the ballot, you've got to raise the money. That's why we need to build the organizations. That's why we need people out there building their state groups so that they will have support, so they can get on the ballot, so they can raise the money, so we can go to the FCC and say, look, here it is. Look, we've got 15 candidates in all across the country. We are a national party. And then to Nelson, we don't need to be a party to run someone for president. Nelson, you're not wrong. We should find who is that person. Is it Dr. West who's going to run again in 2028? Is there someone else who's going to run in 2028? That's not a small decision, and it's not one that we can make too early, essentially. Like,
Right. 'Cause there are actually I used to have, and I want to get this show back so bad, but I can't find third-party candidates, which I'm hoping, listen, everybody that's running under Justice for All, don't make me call out your names. Don't make me, because I know how to find people. I'm not going to be begging Justice for All candidates to come on this show. That's like your responsibility. That's like your first responsibility. But saying that, we need to, support the work of the Justice for All parties. I want publicly financed elections so bad. We're not to that point, right? So we need to be contributing to the Justice for All party so that we can run candidates for federal office. It's not cheap to run for federal office. I think at minimum, and I'm talking like digital, free, everything you can get for free, you're talking at least 15 to 20,000. And I'm probably so low that that number is probably low, but the federal government says 5, right? And I haven't revealed my idea to have a fundraising day on this podcast just yet, because I wanted you guys to be finished first. But since I'm Team Tracy and I have my own team, I'm probably leaning more towards that way, because we need to be serious about the work that we're doing. And I don't think we're not serious, but I don't think people know what it actually takes to actually run for office. Like the time committed, getting a campaign manager, doing all of those things. But the federal government says 5 regions, $5,000. I think it's 5 regions. I know it's $5,000, but I don't know how many regions they count. So the sooner we get to that point, the better off we'll be. And
I say that, Elvin, I'll say this too. To Nelson's point, the goal of running a presidential candidate and why the Greens always run a presidential candidate is it's not about winning president, though that would be great, but they have to build to that. It's about if you get to 5% of the vote, you get federal matching funds. So that's the goal there, and why they're always focused on presidential candidate. But when you talk about building power and materially improving people's lives, structurally changing what your community looks like so it can be better, there's 500,000 elected offices in this country. 500,000 more than that, and a lot of them, I think it's 70-something%, are uncontested, meaning it's just one Republican, it's just one Democrat. They don't campaign, they step back up. Oh, that's me, I want to be this mayor again, sign the piece of paper and sit back down. So there's a lot of easy ways for you to run and for you to win. And I'll say this too, I work with many people who run for local office, school board, municipalities, stuff like that. Running a school board in a small town these days takes $3,000, $5,000. Running in a bigger town, you might need $30,000, $50,000 to win. And people often say that's an insane amount of money. How do you do that without taking money from corporations or from oligarchs or from all these different things? The simple fact is you have a lot of money right there in your phone. It's just simply a matter of going through your contacts, calling people, sparking that courage, and getting folks on the phone, telling them how awesome you are, telling them how awesome the Justice for All party is. And that comes through. And I've seen lots of people who are in very difficult economic situations, they pick up their phone and they're able to raise the money to run, and they win.
Exactly. And that's why, ever since this show has came on, I don't want to go through a long history of the show, because you all know this show wasn't supposed to exist, because the first show was called Congratulations to Dr. Cornel. Congratulations to the 47th president, Dr. Cornel West. I was just going to end right there and be like, I'm done. But when I started this show, I kept saying, what is it that I can do? And of course, I was pushed by the audience that said, no, you got to keep doing this. And I said, what can I do? And I came up with the idea, and I've done it every single week, is I've asked for a minimum of $5, because people don't realize how much of a difference. If I can go through my phone and say, hey, I need $5. I need $5. I have at least 20 contacts in my phone. I have at least 20. And maybe we need to be doing this more, because, this is a system that we have. Yes, of course, we are never going to take money from corporations and PAC money or APAC money. Matter of fact, APAC is probably going to come after us because we're going against them. But what we can do is we can be good stewards over what we raise, and not raise for consultants that can tell you anything that already know. Like, they're basically telling you, hey, this, and you're like, I already know that. So again, that's why I've always said, if you say, oh, I just don't have it, that's okay. You can save 50 cents for 5 weeks. That's your contribution. If you can save 50 cents for 5 weeks, that's what, $2.50? I think that's $2.50. But if you did it for 10 weeks, that's $5. If you can save 50 cents over the next period of 10 weeks, that's $5. If we get 20,000 people to do that, we're right where we need to be. And anybody can jump in what they want to.
Well, I wanted to add the other reason that the Greens and all the parties run a presidential candidate is, like, once in a lot of states, once you get ballot access, once you are recognized as a minor party, in order to stay a minor party, it's defined as who got less than 5% of the vote in the last presidential election. And if you don't run a presidential candidate, you stop becoming you stop being a party, and you lose your ballot access. And so they need to run, even though they're not going to win, so they can maintain ballot access in the states where they've got it. And they want to hit that 5% threshold so that they can get federal matching funds. And just Tracy is right on. Like, I know it's hard. I know it's a time where we're all stretched thin and we're all hurting, but you got to put your money where your mouth is. You've got to go ahead and donate and volunteer. Your time is worth a ton of money. And also, we need the real money. The congressional campaign that I managed last time, we raised like $75,000, a little more than. Didn't come close. It was the incumbent beat us so badly. We didn't make it to the general election. So it takes a lot of money at that federal level, and people, you've got to step up both with your time and with your money. And I know a lot of us got burned in the Bernie years when we gave money to someone who was promising change, and then he ended up just sheep herding people into the Democratic Party. But if you've got a party you believe in, and if you've got a policy you believe in, if you've got people you believe in, you've got to work for them, work with them, and fund them.
Yep. And thank you, Rue, by not putting Tracy 2026, because I'm so happy you didn't do that. That's like the running joke that I should run for office. Not gonna happen. So we got Mark Mixon 26 and Henry 26. I think that sounds much better.
You in the Justice for All primary, Mark.
I can read the thank you, gracias, but not that last word. Because nope, not going to try it because I'm going to mess it up. And Tracy Mark Henry. Thank you, Penny. But I think that's what people, there's people like me that say, I don't really want to run because, and I'm going to talk about this more tomorrow about why it is I won't run, because I have this thing about winning. Like if I'm in it, I better have a really good, solid chance, because you're not going to just waste my time. Like that's me. And that's something I have to work through. But I want everybody listening to listen to what it is we're trying to do. Stop, and I definitely say this every episode, stop letting the Democrat and Republican parties play in your face. That's what they're doing. They're literally playing in your face. Every time Trump says, the big lie about Doge was, we're going to cut military spending. Well, I didn't believe that lie when it came out of his mouth. I'm like, yeah, okay. We're talking about a military that wants $1 trillion for what? More killings, contractors getting rich, but you're struggling. Stop letting Democrats play in your face when they tell you, oh, well, we could have passed the Voters' Rights Act, even though we had the Congress, the presidency, and the Senate. But, those Republicans, they only fight when they're not in power. You don't need that. You need a party that's going to fight when we're in power, and I'm saying when, not if, when we're in power and when we're not in power. If you're tired of that, justiceforall.us, justiceforall.us. And see, why did you come back with this? Why did you come back with this? We're going to stop this. We're going to stop. Tracy Carson is not running for office. She has a smart mouth. We don't need smart mouth people. We need smart thinkers. I got the smart mouth part down pat. But if I was a smarter thinker and I didn't have some personal stuff, I'd be in. But no, I don't. No, absolutely not. But Mark and Henry can. I think they'd be perfect. But Tracy, no. I want to lastly, yeah, that's a word. I want to talk about finally second to last, what it is that you see or what it is that you believe that the Justice for All party can become. Like, what do you see it becoming? And anybody.
Feel like I've spoken first the last few times. I was trying to defer to Henry there a bit. Please.
No, please go. No, okay, smiling down. No, I mean, we could be the conscience of this country. We could be where people look to for what is next, for what helps people. There are a lot of different countries all around the world with very, very, very courageous parties like the Justice for All Party that have been slowly rising year after year. But even before they get their hands on the level of power, they are the people who have to say yes for something to happen. They are the people who hold the balance of power in a lot of these different situations. So I see the Justice for All Party really becoming a beacon of courage for Americans, and for people to say, you know what, I don't know. I don't think I can do it. I don't think I can, go step forward and do that. I don't think I can go down there on Sunday. I don't think I can run for student council. I don't think I can apply for this. I don't think I can go down there and help this. Oh, really? Well, what about the Justice for All party? They're out there doing it, and and everyone was just like, oh, they're just a bunch of like lunatics, blah, 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 running around. But look at them. They went out there, they did it, and they stuck with it, and you can too. We want to be another group of people in that canon of Americans who stood up and said, no, we can have a better world. We can have a better country. We can have a better society. We can have a better community. And if we can do it, there's nothing special about us. We just stepped forward. And if we can do it, you can do it too.
And I guess what I hope, and I think, that bastion of courage that Henry talks about, maybe that's not quite the words you used, but it is going to be so important. People who are willing to step forward and do the work. What I hope I see the Justice for All Party become is someone who does it differently. Like I said earlier, I don't see a minor party out there that is poised to catch fire. I don't see a minor party out there that has figured out. No one's cracked the code yet, so I hope we don't fall into being just another leftist party. I hope we don't fall into the trap of just, Justice for All, Party of Socialism and Liberation, Socialist Workers, Green. I hope we don't become just another one in the list. I hope we become something different and special, and that there is a reason why people say, well, the Justice for All has a real chance, because they are different.
And final question. And again, I have to apologize to you both in advance. In my mind, I always say these interviews are going to be about 45 minutes. I have yet to do a 45-minute show. We're like an hour and 20 in, and I did not realize time went by so fast. So apologies, but I'm sorry, not sorry, because we're talking about some important things. But the final question is this. If you were going to tell Joe Public or Jane Public a good reason to either vote for a Justice for All candidate, or to become a Justice for All candidate, or to support the Justice for All party, what one thing would you say?
I guess I would say, because it's a thing I say all the time about getting involved, democracy is not a spectator sport. That it's participatory. You have to be involved. Otherwise, you are happy with what is going on right now. There's not an option to not participate. Either you are working for change or you are endorsing what is happening right now. So either you like what you got, or you're working to change it. And we can change it. We can make a difference. If we couldn't, then the establishment wouldn't spend so much time and money trying to stop us. The fact that they spend so much time and money to try to break down the people and the people wanting to make change means that they are afraid that we will rise up and make change. So
they better be afraid. Yeah, I was like, they better be afraid. You need to be scared. I hope you are scared. Good. Tracy, behave. Henry, go ahead.
Because you're not alone. It's so easy to go look out at the world and be like, oh, I'm just the only person who thinks this. I'm the only person, who's here. When you step forward, you will be amazed the amount of people that will stand up to go and back you. And they are all across your life. They're people you've never met before who come out of the woodwork to support you. And if you fall, they will catch you. And even if you do not win that election, your life will never be the same, because you will understand better how to get done the things that you want to get done in your community, in your life, in your world. It is a transformative process to step into your own like that. And if you step forward, I promise you, people will come, people will be there. If you build it, they will come.
Thank you, Mr. Field of Dreams. I love it. Yeah, that's the right movie. I'm like, did I quote the right movie? Yeah. Everybody, I want to thank you so much, especially Mark, when I was like, I don't have a guest. And then I forgot, oh, yes, I do Henry. But I figure, you know what? If Henry shows up, that's good. He doesn't, I got a backup. See, that's that thought process. But I want to thank everybody for coming and watching. Remember to please subscribe to this page. Please. Not just for my ego, so I can say, look how many subscribers I have, but so that this message of the Justice for All Party can get out there. Share this video to your cousins, your frenemies, that person you haven't talked to in about 5 years. Talk to them with this podcast. Let them know that there is a party out there that is making a significant difference and will continue to do so. I want to thank Mark. I want to thank Henry. I want to thank everybody in the comments. I will see you tomorrow at 6 p.m. for Tracy's Week in Review. It's going to be a good one, so you might want to watch it. I'm going to take everybody down and do the outro. But again, thank you all so very much. As always, I always extend an invitation for my guests to come back whenever it is they want to, because I haven't had a bad guest yet. I literally haven't. And that's a testament to them, because they keep me on track so I don't go off on these little tangent rants about why the Democratic Party disgusts me. We're not going to be here for another hour, so I'm going to end where I'm going to end. And I'm going to thank you. I'll see you tomorrow, and have a great evening while I play our outro.